Was what Blake says, a conversation that she heard had taken place with Steve Sarowitz. Steve Sarowitz is the head of Wayfair Studios. He is the co-founder of Wayfair Studios, along with Justin.
In a new amended complaint in the ongoing legal battle, Lively's legal team saying the experiences of Ms. Lively and others were documented at the time they occurred, starting in May of 2023.
Blake just crossed the line. New evidence suggests she leaked confidential Sony HR complaints about co-star Justin Baldoni in a brazen attempt to ruin his career. But now, the truth is coming out. The Hollywood gossip mill is in overdrive as Lively is being exposed for sabotaging Baldoni with these leaked documents. This shocking revelation was meant to strengthen her accusations against him, yet it has completely backfired, revealing her desperation. And guess what? Baldoni is now turning the tables, coming out stronger than ever while Blake's scheme crumbles around her. The stakes couldn't be higher. By allegedly sneaking out internal HR reports to smear Baldoni, Blake has stepped into scandalous territory. Not only has this move backfired spectacularly, but it has also put her in a dangerous position. She intended to destroy Justin's reputation, but instead, she's the one whose credibility is now in question. Justin Baldoni is fighting back with a vengeance, and he has the receipts to prove his innocence. How did a private HR matter become front-page news? And how is Baldoni using this fiasco to flip the script on Blake Lively? Let's dive into the explosive details of how this leak unfolded and why it's turning into Blake's worst nightmare.
What Blake says, a conversation that she heard had taken place with Steve Sarowitz. Steve Sarowitz is the head of Wayfair Studios. He is the co-founder of Wayfair Studios, along with Justin. And she says in this lawsuit that, is it interesting? She says, this is what I heard, he said, but it's presented as a quote in the lawsuit. She says that Steve said, I will protect the studio like Israel protected itself from Hamas.
Let's unpack what these leaked HR complaints actually are. Supposedly, multiple confidential HR reports from the set of Ends With Us were filed with Sony Pictures, accusing Justin Baldoni of inappropriate on-set behavior. According to the leaks, at least 2 other actresses from the film claimed Baldoni's conduct made them uncomfortable during filming. In other words, these documents seem to support Blake Lively's own accusations of Baldoni creating a hostile work environment. On the surface, that sounds damning, but hold on. Are these complaints legitimate or just a calculated smear tactic? Baldoni's camp strongly suggests it's the latter. In fact, Justin alleges that Lively's team deliberately planted a false story about multiple HR complaints during production. Naturally, her publicist flat out denied any involvement. But here's the question. If these HR grievances were real and serious, why didn't Blake include them in her official legal filings against Baldoni? The authenticity of these leaked documents is now under heavy scrutiny, and for good reason. So, how did the leak happen? In a sneaky, tabloid-worthy fashion, the confidential reports mysteriously surfaced on social media, sparking a firestorm out of nowhere. Almost instantly, TikTok and Instagram posts began circulating screenshots of what were claimed to be official HR complaints filed with Sony's HR department. And the timing, no coincidence. These leaks dropped right as Blake Lively was preparing to file an amended lawsuit with fresh allegations against Baldoni.
She became uncomfortable with Justin Baldoni yesterday while she was filming. She states that Mr. Baldoni put his bare hands on her backside and said that he was trying to help her with her posture. Complainant immediately voiced her displeasure with being touched on an intimate part of her body, and Mr. Baldoni responded with, "It's fine. I'm totally hot for my wife," in a dismissive tone.
If someone wanted to stir up a frenzy and sway public opinion in Lively's favor with these extra complaints, the leakers remained anonymous. But the rumor mill claims, I got it from someone who got it from a Sony employee. Sounds suspicious. Absolutely. This convenient hearsay trail points straight to an inside job, likely orchestrated by someone in Blake's camp. Think about it. A genuine HR complaint would be handled internally and confidentially, not leaked online for the world to see. By all indications, this was a calculated move designed to tarnish Baldoni's reputation. Sony Pictures' reaction to the breach was swift and very telling. The studio essentially responded, "What complaints? We have no record of any such filings." In fact, Sony publicly confirmed via Variety that no official HR complaints were ever lodged against Justin Baldoni. That's right. The very entity supposedly holding these reports is saying they don't exist. If that doesn't raise serious, red flags about the legitimacy of the leak, nothing will. For Sony, this wasn't just an unauthorized disclosure of private corporate information. It was possibly a fabricated one at that.
Dear Judge Lyman, as counsel for Wayfarer Studios LLC, Justin Baldoni, Jamie Heath, Steve Sarowitz, It Ends With Us Movie LLC, Melissa Nathan, the Agency Group PR LLC, and Jennifer Abel, collectively the Wayfarer parties, we write to advise the court of an issue that the Wayfarer parties wish to address at the upcoming conference on Monday, February 3rd.
The leaked documents had glaring oddities. For instance, the dates were redacted, an unusual move that made it impossible to verify when, or even if, they were actually filed. Why blank out the dates unless you're trying to hide something? All signs point to this leak being a rogue act, not an official release, aimed at fueling the media frenzy. Sony certainly never approved such a thing. In fact, by denying any record of complaints, the studio essentially implied that either someone stole internal documents or the files were outright fake. Either scenario is a major scandal. Make no mistake, if Blake Lively was behind this leak, she's playing with fire. Leaking confidential HR reports isn't just unethical, it's potentially illegal. HR files are usually protected under strict confidentiality. Spreading them publicly could violate workplace policies and privacy laws. And if any of these documents were fabricated to frame Baldoni, that's an even more serious offense, essentially fraud and defamation. Legal experts warn that submitting false evidence or circulating forged complaints could have severe consequences, from career-ending industry blacklisting to lawsuits. In fact, this stunt has already sparked talk of legal trouble for Lively. Sony won't take kindly to an employee or anyone leaking internal files, and Baldoni's team is furious over this attempt to damage his reputation. What was likely meant to strengthen Blake's case is now exposing her to accusations of evidence tampering and bad faith tactics. It's a classic case of a plan backfiring spectacularly. Justin Baldoni's reaction, firm and unflinching. He refuses to be anyone's scapegoat. As soon as these questionable HR complaints hit the internet, Baldoni's lawyer, Brian Friedman, publicly cast doubt on them. Friedman made it clear that they are actively investigating the source of the leak and will hold the responsible parties accountable. He openly questioned the document's authenticity, pointing out how suspicious it was that critical details, like dates, were blacked out. To him, this reeks of a setup. Friedman essentially said, "We're not buying this," strongly hinting that the leaks were part of Blake's smear campaign. As for Baldoni, he has maintained his innocence from day one and isn't about to let a few leaked papers derail him. Instead of cowering, Justin is fighting back. Insiders say he was outraged, but not surprised that Blake might stoop this low.
And I think that the Justin and Blake stuff is, I think it's a big PR game, and I think that we're all the pawns of it. And also that story I gave you, that's one where I've talked to them. I feel comfortable sharing that much. Like, good luck. There's so many different groups.
Rather than engaging in a tit-for-tat leak war, Baldoni took the high road, turning to legal action. His team is actively gathering evidence to uncover the truth behind these leaked complaints. But Justin didn't stop there. He went on the offensive, launching a legal counterattack that could make Blake seriously regret her actions. However, what happened next revealed just how far Blake was willing to go. This leaked HR complaint fiasco is just the latest chapter in a much bigger battle between Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni. To truly understand how we got here, we need to look at the full feud that has been brewing for months. It all started during the filming of It Ends With Us, where tensions between leading star Blake and director from co-star Justin ran high. By the time the film premiered in August 2024, onlookers sensed that something was off. Baldoni was noticeably absent from joint cast interviews and even avoided posing with Blake and the rest of the cast on the red carpet. At the NYC premiere, Blake Lively smiled alongside her co-stars, while Baldoni kept his distance, appearing only with his family. Rumors of a rift were already swirling. A People insider ominously teased, "All is not what it seems." There's much more to this story. Little did we know just how much more was coming. Sure enough, things exploded later that year.
He and 9 other plaintiffs, including his publicists, have brought a $250 million lawsuit against the New York Times, essentially alleging them of libel and false light invasion of privacy. So Justin Baldoni's lawyer, Brian Friedman, he told BBC's partner CBS that the newspaper aided and abetted a smear campaign designed to revitalise Lively's flounder.
Lively filed a bombshell complaint, accusing Justin Baldoni of all sorts of unprofessional and disturbing behaviour on set. She painted him as a nightmare co-worker, alleging that he created a hostile work environment. She even claimed he entered her trailer uninvited and made inappropriate remarks, allegations Baldoni vehemently denies. In a bizarre twist, Blake's filing also accused Justin and his producing partner of orchestrating a smear campaign against her after filming Wrapped. Essentially, she blamed Justin for the negative press that was bubbling up around her. Talk about ironic, especially considering what we now know. The legal gloves were off. Lively wasn't just airing grievances. She was suing Baldoni for retaliation and emotional distress. This wasn't just a private dispute. It was an unprecedented public takedown attempt by one A-list actor against another. But Justin Baldoni did not take these allegations lying down. He immediately fought back, setting the record straight and defending himself with hard evidence. Within days, Baldoni's team provided receipts that directly contradicted some of Blake's claims. One of Lively's most shocking accusations involved a scene gone wrong. She implied that Justin made an unwanted advance during a dance sequence, but that claim quickly crumbled. Behind-the-scenes footage from that very day was released by Baldoni's team, and it told a completely different story. The audio and video captured Blake and Justin joking casually. At one point, Blake even laughed about accidentally getting spray tan on him. Justin playfully responded, "It smells good." The reality? The supposed unwanted advance never happened. And with that, the credibility of Lively's claims was already beginning to unravel.
For the gag order and explaining how he's talking too much, he's threatening to post stuff on public sites. So what I think is, this looks good for Baldoni, right? He's like, we want to make it all public. And sometimes lawyers can do this knowing that they can't actually do what they say they're going to do.
Every time Blake tried to spin the narrative, Baldoni answered with cold, hard proof. Then came the media firestorm. The story quickly escalated from legal filings to the headlines of major outlets. The New York Times even ran an investigative piece amplifying Blake's accusations, an article that Justin slammed as a hit job misrepresenting the facts. Baldoni was so outraged by the Times report that he took an unprecedented step. He sued the newspaper for $250 million in defamation. His lawsuit accused the publication of using cherry-picked and altered communications to make him look bad. That's right. Justin went after one of the biggest newspapers in the world to defend his name. It was a bold move that signaled just how confident he was that Lively's claims were distorted. And in the court of public opinion, it worked. The lawsuit reinforced the idea that Justin had nothing to hide. After all, who sues the press, knowing it will invite even more scrutiny, unless they're certain the truth is on their side? Meanwhile, the more Blake Lively pushed her version of events, the more her alleged manipulative tactics came to light. Consider this. Before any official complaint was ever filed, whispers about Baldoni's behavior had already begun circulating in gossip columns. It seemed as if someone had been planting negative stories about Justin well in advance. Baldoni's team didn't hold back. They flat out accused Blake's publicist, Judy Sloan, of orchestrating a calculated smear campaign, in the press. And from the way things were unfolding, it wasn't hard to see why.